Hope you're all doing extremely well this evening, February the 11th. Yeah, Wednesday, February the 11th. Nearly halfway through this month already. This month is flying by as quick as you like. So look, we don't have a game for pretty much a good old week and a bit. FA Cup, which we are not in, sadly. But look, it gives us a break. It gives us a time to regroup after the game yesterday, and we can talk about that again. We can get into the game as well yesterday. But I think we've said everything that we need to say on that. So look, get into this amazing community. This is the best community on this platform, hands down. You guys are amazing. You guys are legends, and you always respect the channel. Thank you so much. So the first thing to say is, look, get into the chat. Be respectful to the channel. Be respectful to the community, to the moderators. Be respectful to yourselves, because I'll always say this, right? I think people do a disservice to themselves. I think sometimes people will come on here and in real life they're lovely people, and then they get onto a place like this, they get frustrated and they take it out. So look, just be respectful. We don't mind the banter. We love the banter. You don't have to support this club to be on this channel. We have some amazing other fans on this channel as well. So look, get into this amazing community. Scott is already in the house. Yes, JB, he says, this top is sick. I love this top, mate. This is one of my favourite tops. This reminds me of Juan Sebastian as well. Absolute legendary player. Not necessarily for us, but I love that player. Fantastic player. Second thing to say is, look, I'm not a dictator of this chat. I really do read out your views and opinions. And look, this channel is about opinions. That's why these shows take so long, is because I really do read out your views. I really read out opinions. We talk about it. Look, we don't always have to agree. That is the best thing about an opinion. We don't always have to agree on every single thing that we say, but look, I give you the respect and the time to get those opinions out. So look, I'm going to be coughing tonight because I'm back from playing football tonight. Played a five-a-side game, which I've got to say this, right? So never mind United winning 5 games on the trot. Somebody needs to back me. Somebody needs to not get their hair cut, because I'm on a 2-game winning streak. Sky says hi. I'm on a 2-game winning streak. I played again and we won again. So that's 2 wins on the bounce. So I think somebody should agree not to shave a body part for me until I win the 5 games. I reckon you guys would cut whatever you've decided to grow quicker than that prick with the hair. So so look, I played tonight, pissing down my rain. Scored a couple of goals. Look, I am surprising myself. I'm a bit like Casemiro. My friend is in. Pound shop Mark Goldbridge says, bored die you fan. My friend, who's always in here, who always gives up the updates on the Goldbridge show, mate. We appreciate it, buddy. Look, the fact that you come on and you're willing to give me the time of day to mention that, my friend. Look, nothing is going to break my spirit tonight. I'm in a fantastic mood. So look, you can be here. We don't mind the banter. I know you dream about Goldbridge at night. I know you go to bed with his poster on your wall having a wank. That's fine. I'm just so glad that you can't send me pictures, because I reckon if you sent me pictures, I think your pictures would be of you in a Goldbridge mask knocking one out. So look, you can love the Messiah. That's all on you, buddy. Ray says it's disgusting. Sky Sports mentioned this guy, even the commentary mentioning him. It's like money and status is more important than the club. I honestly, and again, look, Ray, there are certain fans, and look, this is a late night show, by the way, so you guys get in your comments. I do have something to say tonight about Sir Jim Ratcliffe being an absolute fucking moron. And the funniest thing as well, right, is that Sir Jim has come out and said all this in the last hour. Danny is in the house, also Sky is in the house as well, and literally Radcliffe has had to come out and apologise to the PM. It is brilliant stuff. How can you how can you trust the part owner of this club who says things, and the interview was a car crash as well, by the way, absolutely ridiculous, and he's had to apologise. So brilliant. So look, yeah. The guy who's going to get his haircut. Look, people come on here, and I've seen people talking, saying basically, "Oh, the guy's going to get a haircut. He's giving money to charity. He's such a lovely guy." He is, but he's going to make the guy's literally going to make millions of pounds. He's going to make millions of pounds. And look, it is. Look, is it a bit of fun? Yeah, but this guy is making money off of the misery of this fan base. And look, we are already seeing the drop. There should be a suicide watch from the West Ham games. The amount of people now that I've seen and this fan base literally dropping to the depths of despair is absolutely crazy. But so look, this guy's going to get his hair cut. I really don't give a shit. Danny is right. Danny, I am disgusted, mate. I'm absolutely disgusted that some guy, could be a girl. It's not just because it's a guy. It could have been a girl. It is a guy. Imagine I get called toxic. The epitome of toxicity is you're making money off the back of how badly this club is doing. Ridiculous. Original Prof Master says, I only care what he does with the club, and so far he's done 0.0%. He seems like a talker and not a walker. Exactly. I think the walkers from the Walking Dead do more walking and do more action than Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And what that guy has to say, we will go for it. So look, I've got a little bit of a cough tonight because I've just come back from playing five-a-side football, and as everything I do, I gave it 100%. I've got a big massive lump on my knee. That's what happens, right? So let's Thomas Frank. Look, Thomas Frank getting sacked today. I never like to see it. Look, as much as we can take the mick out of the Spuds, we can take the mick out of Spurs. And those Spurs beat us in the Europa League final last season. That seems like years and years ago now. I just don't like to see it. I think Frank again is a victim of a squad. I think Frank is a victim of injuries to the squad. I think that I don't think Spurs really invested in him that much. I don't ever think they've really improved. Look, how can you lose Kane? How can you lose a Son and not? I know you can't replace Kane, but how can you not at least attempt to replace Kane? So look, whatever we think, Thomas Frank is gone. So Thomas Frank is gone, and I never like to see it. I don't know. I think Liverpool as well have just won as well. So those of you who are on suicide watch tonight, Liverpool have just won as well. So you might want to let's see what's going on in the chat. Don says him with a haircut just brings unnecessary noise that adds unnecessary pressure. Exactly. This is my whole point. And United Don, you summed it up. You actually summed it up. Like, instead of just letting this club, look, it is a privilege to play for this club. It is a privilege, and the pressure to play for the club is a privilege, right? The only thing I am going to say is these players shouldn't feel the pressure of some twat getting a haircut. But I know exactly what you're trying to say, right? We don't need the eyes. Like, you are so right. We don't need. Look, we know what these players are. We know these players can't handle the pressure. This club, as of now, just needs all the support to get us through. I'm not necessarily talking about supporting these players. I know some of you love these players. I'm not there yet. Let's just get through the season and try to scrape a top 4. Pain is just weakness leaving your body. Your knee will be fine. Thanks, Herbie, legend. A bit of player power with Spurs, says Steve. I think so. I think Spurs are in a very, very similar position to us. Obviously, less the trophy cabinet, right? Carrick wheels are coming off. We will get into all that as well. Players didn't like Frank's style of play. Could this be the start of another? And Jim, look, mate, we will get onto that, Jim, because I've seen the same people talking about United gonna win a league. Carrick, give him a 3-year contract. We draw one match, and tonight Villa have won tonight. Liverpool have won tonight as well. I still think it is a good point. Those same people tonight are panicking. Look, we can talk about that as well. As Brad says, let's be fair here. Ratcliffe will have his own political views. To say he's done nothing with the club is wrong. He has improved our recruitment on the player side and upgraded. And Brad, I will get on to that as well, Brad, because I've got a different opinion. Brad, you say Carrington has been improved. I say Carrington has been improved, but Carrington has been improved to upgrade the asset. Carrington had to be upgraded. There was no choice. I'm not talking about Ratcliffe's political views here. Even though Ratcliffe even though he has come out tonight and apologised to Starmer, I am not talking about his political views. Political views have no place here. I am not talking about that. I'm talking about what he said in relation to the government and to us. I'm not bringing politics into this tonight. And the majority of these players won't handle the pressure, staying in the top 5. They have no mentality. Top goodness, says United are washed. Okay, disgraceful comment from Ratcliffe says down. So look, I am going to go through it. Look, people are going to have their opinions on him tonight. I am not going to give you my views and opinions on what he said about the government, whether I disagree or agree with that. There is, I'm not going to get into that tonight, because this isn't that place. Whether I agree with it or not, people are going to have their political views. I thought Sir Jim, to put out what he said 2 hours ago, because it was pre-recorded, I think what he put out, some people will call it brave, some people will call it stupid. I think if you're prepared to put your head on a chopping block, as Brad says, regardless of whether it's to do with the asset, it's been improved hugely to the level we always have, and it shows players that are serious about improving. And look, Brad, I take the point. Whether or not Brad, I think that is a point very well made. Whether or not Sir Jim is here to improve the asset, I agree with you. It had to be done. I don't think it ultimately is going to change these players' minds, Brad. But whether it's done on purpose or whether it's done just to refurbish an asset, Brad, I do take the point. Because ultimately, if you get some, if we're trying to sign players and you've got a training facility as good as that, my view will not change. But Brad, I do agree with you. I think that's a comment well made. I do. Cold Electric says, looking sporty. I've been playing football tonight. I'm in a cracking mood. We won. I scored some goals. A bunch of middle-aged men. There is nothing more beautiful in this life than watching middle-aged men running around a five-a-side cage, pissing it down with rain. In about the 50th minute, we're all tired. We're all shattered. It's unbelievable. It is a beautiful thing to watch. He's 100. I'm not. Yeah, look, Cad Bain. Excuse me. I'm not. I'm not disrespecting your views on what he said. Anything outside of the club. Where I do agree with you, Cad Bain, is I do agree with you. He's 100% wrong about the club. I am not getting into that. Thomas, who do I support? Herbie said only United would have an owner who does interviews to boost his own ego. Complete circus and embarrassing. Herbie, I agree. I don't. Which two midfielders would you go for? I do think we need I think we need a defensive midfielder. I don't mind an all-round midfielder. Mate, look, who would I go for? In an ideal world, I'd probably go for a Wharton, an Anderson, Wharton, Stieler. I would go for those obvious sorts of players. But I have done a show and I've listed all out the defensive midfielders. But look, I think if I had my choice, I would go for the best in class. I would do. Cadbain says the club has been run into the ground. It's so sad, and I agree with you completely. So look, this is your show tonight. Tonight is more so about me reading out your comments, which I do, but this is really your focus show. I am going to go through, though, the only thing I'm going to go through tonight is what Sir Jim said about the club. You guys are going to have your opinions on what he said about everything else, but look, I'm not going to go into that. So look, Sir Jim did say those two midfielders you mentioned, players, are not Rodri or Rich. Well, no, because we can't get Rodri. Rodri isn't Rodri now either. He's not the Rodri that he was. We would be in a complete different place if Qatar had taken over. We will not forgive Ratcliffe. And Omar. I want to start there. Omar, I want to start there. Right. Dino is in the house. Ratcliffe looks like he's digging a hole for himself. I'd be sacking his publicist who said, that he could say, I can go wrong. We need an experienced striker, two quality midfielders, and a left back at the very least. Last night proved we have no depth. And look, I wanted to go back to what Omar said quickly. So before I go into it, I wanted to go what he said, and then I want to come on to what Omar has said, because I think look, Ryan, mate, you guys can talk about that in the chat. I'm not going to go into all of that. That is not for this show. But look, you guys can talk about that. So Sir Jim basically said that United they needed someone who was willing to be unpopular and the enemy of the people, able to stabilize the club. Okay, he says, INEOS have been very unpopular. because they've had to make changes, but for the better. And in his view, we are beginning to see that to see it in the football and the club beginning to pay off. So I am going to go back to what was said there. So basically, Sir Jim has come out and basically said he's basically compared to what he's done to the tough decisions that Keir Starmer is having to make. I'm not going to go into the politics side of it. Basically comparing it, saying that United, they've had to make some tough calls and they need somebody who's willing to be unpopular, the enemy of the club, and they're beginning to see they're beginning to see the club, the changes that they've made to pay off. Now, I wanted to go back to what Omar said before we talk about it all, before I talk about where I think he's gone wrong, before I talk about how the bullshit. Omar is right. Sir Jim did not have to do this. I don't understand what the fuck this idiot is talking about. Yes, you've come into this club. The decisions that you've made, sacking the tea ladies, stop giving the kids socks in the kids team, taking away lunches for the teams, stopping the £40,000 a year to ex-players fund, doing all this stuff. And now he's talking about the changes that they've had to make. Sir Jim, you stuck your fucking nose in this club and you didn't have to. The Glazers didn't want to sell. The Glazers had no fucking choice. And the reason why tonight I'm using the language that I am tonight is because it is an absolute ridiculousness for Sir Jim and his ego to sit there tonight to pontificate saying, at the end of the day, I've saved the club, all the changes that we've made, because unpopular, you didn't have to make them. Nobody forced you. You gave a lifeline to the enemies of this club, and now you're trying to sit there, make out like you are the saviour of this club, when we had an option. Whether or not people like Qatar, look, I've said many occasions on here what I would like. That's not going to happen. It doesn't matter what I like. Doesn't matter whether you agree with Qatar or Saudi. The facts remain. Sir Jim did not have to stick his fucking nose in. And the reason why Sir Jim stuck his nose into this club was for the profit. Because they saw an opportunity. The Glazers needed somebody to come in to prop them up because they knew the regeneration was going to happen, and Sir Jim was the perfect guy. So for him to sit there and start lauding himself around like he's some sort of fucking Jesus Christ, fucking Lord and Saviour, who's came into this club on his white steed to save the club, it is a little bit like shooting yourself in the toes. You've got no foot left, and then basically you trying to reconstruct your foot. You didn't fucking need to do it in the first place. Why did you come into the club? Qatar were ready to go. The Glazers didn't want to sell. The Glazers had no choice. They were out of cash. They were never going to put their own cash into this club. And Sir Jim, there was a buyer who would have taken out of the debt. And yet you've got some guy with a this is a vanity show. And now he sits there. And yes, you can argue he's put some money into the club. As it was said there, and correctly so by Brad, was it irrespective? Carrington has had the money he's ploughed into that. Look, any financial assistance Sir Jim gives to this club, he will get it back. That is a fact. Okay, if this club sells for £8 billion, Sir Jim gets all of that back. He's not doing this out of the goodness of his heart. Now, look, to go back to what to Brad said, and Brad is correct. Part of this is buying players. So if you go buy players as well, which they've not fucking done, They bought some players, but they need to buy more players. If you keep investing the money in that squad, and people will say, "Oh, Sir Jim's great." If they go out and they spend X amount of money, oh, fantastic. They're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart to make us better. This is about brand united. This is about, if you'd got Qatar in and they'd been buying players, then that's different. They'd be buying the players because they want to win. This is what INEOS and the stories of us getting connected to younger players is, because this is what the ethos is you buy them young, sell them high. So look, I just wanted to go there. Omar is correct. Doesn't matter what was said today. Sir Jim's talking about being the saviour of this club. He will pontificate that as much as he possibly can. He will keep telling you, because he believes it, that he is the saviour of a British institution, a British club, and I will go into why he fucking hasn't. And Omar is right. He didn't need to take over this club. Vanity over anything else. Herbie says, Herbie's done that one. He said after pointing and then sacking at Amorim, hi mate, you seem a bit sensitive with your fans' comments. Not really, mate. Not really, buddy. Not really. Not really. Not really. What have I missed? What's he said now? Sir Jim, the Muppet, sacking staff to save pennies, then sacking a manager, costing us nearly 30 million doesn't make sense. And again, hats off for what you did for charity, John. I mean, that's it. Cheers. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it, buddy. The F word is great. Your passion doesn't he live in? Exactly. He does. He does. He's a bit like Sir Jim. Is a bit like the guy from I can't remember his name now. He owns the plumbing business, right? He's one of the biggest plumbing guys, and he basically tells people in this country that they've got to go to work, which is true. But he reckons that people need to work 15-hour days, but blah blah blah, and people do, right? But he does have these really weird stuff, and he basically lives in God knows where. I hate United Strand, says Leo. I know there was talk about him doing. So nobody's sure, so I didn't want to go through. How can he complain about anything? He won't even pay tax here, exactly. Dino said, hilarious though, because at the end of the season, the club has lost nearly 60 mil, exactly. He wanted the government to fund the stadium, exactly. The man's rich as hell and can't even live here because of the tax, like every other working person, exactly. And that's the same as the Glazers, by the way. So the Glazers pay zero tax. So the Glazers pay zero tax. So the Glazers want somebody to foot the bill of the stadium. The Glazers pay little to zero tax here. So they come in to the UK. They've taken money out of this club. They pay zero tax. Shocking. That INEOS crap they're selling in Tesco's, dear. Wouldn't you rather they produce some more through the academy? I know I would at Liverpool. We are selling our future. Look, in an ideal world, right? I would love this club to be sustainable. And what I mean is that we basically what we earn, we can live off of that. I would love the academy. Look, there'd be nothing better than fielding a team full of academy players. How amazing would it be to have Beckham, Scholes, Giggsy, Bart, all those sorts of players coming through again, and then you sprinkle in experienced players, right? I would love that completely. But it's just not going to happen. Gonna rant, mate. I've not finished yet either. No, the plumber John was talking about bleached spiked hair. If it was a female dressed as lamb, would come to mind. Yes, yes, it was the guy, and he's had his lips and his teeth done as well. What was he called? He owns the plumbing business. This thing will not open. So look. So what did? So let's go into Sir Jim. Okay. So basically, as we know, he's done a very it's weird. He's done a very weird, ill-timed interview. What's his name? It's gonna bug me. Basically, so, and again, I don't get Sir Jim. I do not understand this, right? So he's talking about the politics, talking about that stuff, and then it's almost like he can't help. He can't help every 2 seconds to tell you, to tell me, to tell the audience how well Sir Jim is doing at this club. How well. But what's really funny is, Sir Jim, you've been quiet, mate. You've been quiet. You've only spoken up after we've won 4 games on the bounce and we've drawn. So we've not lost in 5 games. Really, really funny that. You know, you've not really spoken a lot, but you're now starting to talk. So I don't understand what United has to do with the politics talk. Now, Kev, I'm not talking of Kev. I'm not talking about the politics. It's Champers. I'm not talking about the political side. Let's be clear on that. I am not. I will mention the fact that he's talking about the club in relation to him talking about something else. I am not going to talk about that. That's nothing to do with this channel. You can support whatever you support, whatever you think is right. That is on you. I don't understand when the contrast between what he's talking about with the government and then liking it to do with this club is narcissistic. He is absolutely, he's just absolutely ridiculous. So, you know, him saying that the tough decisions in politics in this country and comparing the tough calls that Keir Starmer is making in the government, and then he's saying that, you know, he's somebody like Sir Keir Starmer who's willing to be unpopular. He's willing to be the enemy. You know, he's willing to upset people for a couple of years to stabilize the club. And again, I find myself saying at the end of that statement is, Sir Jim, you didn't need to fucking get you didn't need to do it. There was no need for you to come in and stabilize the club. And that is what I mean about what a narcissistic paragraph, what a narcissistic comment to make. You did not have to come into this club. Why are you making yourself an enemy? Exactly. I'm not talking about politics. I'm literally talking about what Sir Jim said. Well, I'm not going anywhere near the politics. So then he then said, I've been very unpopular at the club because we, talking about INEOS as well, have made, they have changed a lot, and he thinks for the better. And he says, in my view, we are beginning to see the changes in the football club, and these changes are starting to pay off. So he's basically saying that the changes that they've made, they're starting to pay off. Now, I know Brad said in the chat that the recruitment has been improved. I disagree. I should tell you for why I disagree on that point. Look, are the players that were signed, are they good players? Yes. I'm talking about Shesko, in Bumo, Cunha. Are they good players? Yes. But you can't just look at the players that you signed. You've got to look at the transfer window as a whole. It was shit. We took weeks and weeks and weeks to sign players. We went on to the pre-season tour and they didn't play for how many, 2 or 3 games. Shesko didn't come in until the very end. Larmans as well. Look, Larmans, very, very good player. But it can't just be about the players that you sign. It was almost the start of the season was sabotage. Because if we've got these players in, and in fact, Amorim didn't get the players that he asked for. So look, I know people will always go for the recruitment side was fantastic because you look at John wearing a rainbow armband on the next stream. Look, again, people can support whatever they like. People can love whoever they like. Doesn't mean you're a bad person because you love. There are. No, I'm not even going to say what I was about to say, but fine. Recruitment has his rainbow laces are on order. No, they are. I'm going to wear. In fact, I'm going to get a rainbow shirt. Peace and hugs to all. The recruitment can't just be about players. Amorim wanted 3 or 4 players. He didn't get. That's not good. Larmins wasn't here for the start of the season. Anana played. No, Bienda played. Right? Shocking. Absolutely awful. Okay, Zippy. I can't do an impression of him. Zippy, Bungle, and George. And Jeffrey, no, that's awful. Zippy, Bungle, and George. I'm old. I've seen Rainbow. And Rod, Jane, and Freddie. I'm old, guys. So the recruitment has been okay. But where else? I love Zippy. Let's get on to Ashworth. So according to Sir Jim, the changes that he's made, they've all been fantastic. Stewie Simpson says recruitment has been great. And look, Stevie, mate, I am not. Look, that is your view. I'm not going to disrespect your view, buddy, and I'm glad that you think it. In my opinion, recruitment isn't just about the players that you get. Amorim wanted certain players he didn't get. We took an age to sign a player from. We ended up paying £70 million, and we tried to negotiate that. We spent weeks and weeks trying to get that down, and we ended up paying what they wanted to pay. That isn't good, irrespective of the person that you get. It wasn't great. Shesko was 4th or 5th choice. Larmins didn't come in until the very end. Look, Stewie, I am not disagreeing that in the end, the players that were signed are good players. But recruitment isn't just about the players. It is about everything. So for me, look, I will concede that you guys, if you think that recruitment are good, I disagree. I think the whole of the process, the end-to-end, wasn't great. Let's have a little look. John, do you remember Mr. Blobby? Yes. Mr. Blobby on Noel's house party. What have we got in here? Recruitment has been great, says Stewie. Time for bed lunch. JB eats people. Jamie had a magic torch with Wordsworth. He did. There are a lot of INEOS decisions that were mind-boggling, but recruitment of players has been great in my opinion. And Stewie, mate, look, I will agree, Stewie. And again, I'm not here to change anyone's opinion. This is why I read out the chats, because I think it's a fascinating debate. And Stewie, you're not wrong, because that is your view, right? I disagree that the recruitment has been good in terms of the whole of the process, but I like the players that they've signed. Now, where I would agree with you is we got there eventually, and I do like the players that we signed. So from a recruitment perspective, in terms of the players, I like what they've done. I just don't think recruitment as a whole has been great, but I do agree that I do like the players that they've signed. Mr. Ben, Will Miller said United won't win the league in the next 10 years. Will, it depends, buddy. I think it depends. If we don't get the Champions League, mate, no, we won't. But the funny thing that is making me laugh tonight is before the West Ham game, people were talking about a league push. We're talking about the title. We're talking about, top three, Aston Villa, and all that. Other than the league push, I think City and Arsenal, I think, are too far ahead. Aston Villa are catchable, right? I'm not saying that is what will happen, but the absolute flip-flop turn of mood after a draw, and I've got to say this, right? I'm happy with that draw. As much as I want to win, people have not put enough respect on West Ham. Look, the people's emotions have dropped so far to the floor because we've drawn a game. I've seen this over the years. Fergie did it. This is the time of the season where you earn your place, where you earn your top 4 place, you earn the league, you earn the 3rd place. Because if you look at the form of, and I've seen people say this, that oh, West Ham are shit, West Ham are not great. We should have beat the Hammers because the Hammers, they're shit, and they're not. But people forget that we've been shit. Like, other than the last 4 games, we haven't been great this season. So if you had have said to me, City, Arsenal, Fulham, Spurs, West Ham away, we would have gotten 13 points. I would have snapped your hand off. So look, some people tonight are going absolutely apeshit tonight. Carrick is not the guy. This team is crap. This is the business end of the season. I've been consistent. You guys have been consistent. Will we win the league in the next 10 years? I don't know. Mr. Blobby at my second pie. Cunha, Larmans, Mbeumo, Shesko, JB. Rate them. I would say for me, I think for me, Cunha. Sorry, I think for me, and I'm going to start with my own. Who I think is the most impactful player. Larmins for me. Larmins at the moment for me is a 9, and and I base that on, if you look at what we had in goal, you look at the mess of a back 4. Larmans, you look at what he's done. You look at the age. You look at the league that he's come from. You look at the games he's come into. You look at, and look, is he perfect? No, but you talk about impact. You talk about what that kid has done, and he's a young guy. He's come in, and for me, transformative. I think he has been our bet. And you look at the price, absolute phenomenal. So for me, Lamin's number one. Mbumo for me, number two. Again, you could probably give him an 8.5, an 8. Some people would give him a 9. For me, I would say he's an 8, 8.5. You could argue a 9, but for me, I just think Lamin's, for that position, for that price, for what he's done, I think for me, he rates higher. Again, you could, put him higher up as well, but I think that other than, when you look at the impact like Acuña's made and Šeško's made, he is 70 million pounds. I think he's worth every penny. He works hard every single game. He gets you goals. He can play wide. He can play up front. I think he's been a revelation. Šeško, Cunha for me would be next. I think for me, Cunha probably falls around 7.5. You could maybe argue an 8, but I think Cunha for me is a 7.5. And I don't think that's all of him, by the way. I think that the way that he plays, I think the way that Amorim played, and now I think the way that Carrick is trying to play, and he's trying to put Bruno back in that 10. I think Bruno does hinder him a bit. Cunha shows flashes of, he is brilliant. I think he's smart, but I just think it doesn't mean he's bad. You could give him an 8. I would go on the side of a 7.5, because I don't think he's been this revelatory player that you could go, oh wow, like he's having this most amazing season. I think he's a fantastic player. 7.5. Šeško for me, a 7. And that doesn't mean that that's a bad 7. I think compared to what we've had, compared to what we've got, I like Šeško. I think Šeško wasn't the first choice signing. I think he would probably, I think he's going to end up being better than maybe, unlike an Osimhen or a Kane, or, so yeah, look, I think the lowest score is a 7, but for me, Lamin's for me is probably one of my signings of the season. Don't call that rat, sir. Yeah, he is. The Blobby squad, have a good one, everyone. I'm off. See you later, buddy. John, be honest, where do you think we'll end up? Where do you think we'll end up? I think, I don't know, mate. I don't know. I think we'll end up. I think we'll end up. That's a good question. I think we'll end up 5th. It's difficult. It's difficult. It's difficult. The reason, look, the reason why I say 5th, and it's not based on because the reason why I say 5th is because I think that we're still inconsistent. I think that this is player FC. I don't think Carrick has the tactics. I don't think Carrick has the nous. I think Carrick is too inexperienced. I think these players are a light switch player. When the pressure is on, these players will let you down. However, saying that, the reason why I think we'll finish 5th, look, we could finish. I don't think we'll get 2nd or 3rd. I think we will. I think we'll be 4th, 5th, or 6th. And the reason why is, look, we still finished 15th last season. These players are inconsistent, as we saw. Again, Carrick is too inexperienced. I think Carrick will get schooled again at some point. And these players will let us down time and time again. So until this team proves me wrong in these sorts of of games that they have to win. And look, if they do, fantastic. Do I think that we'll get into the Champions League? I think that we will. So whether or not we finish third, fourth, or fifth, as long as we get into the Champions League, I don't care. But I can't call it right now. I can't. This team is so inconsistent. They could easily go on a full match streak where they lose, as much as now they could now win the next four again. So I don't know. I don't know. Scott has said top 5 all season. Scott, it is true. The disappointment of yesterday's draw comes from our recent results of beating City and Arsenal, says Stewie. And look, the thing is with that, Stewie, I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword, right? Is that I think, Stewie, and you guys can tell me your view, right? I think if there wasn't a social media, right, I think as a fan base, I think that we would probably be like, look, let's take each game, right? And where I do agree with you is it does come from the disappointment of 2 games, right? But I think this fan base has been stirred up even more by social media from channels like mine. I'm not saying that this is something that I do. I can't call out other channels. I could do, but I'm not going to. Who fulfill this media, who fulfill this toxic positivity for clicks. This is why people call me a moany bastard, because I will stick to my guns. I don't ride the positivity train, and I think a lot of it does come from the media. Look, United always do well. The media, YouTube channels, always do well when United do bad. And I'll give you an example, right? Last night's stream, and it may not sound like a lot, was probably one of the most viewed streams that I've done. It wasn't intentional. I typically get around, 3,000 views, which is pretty good for the channel of my size. It's pretty good. You should be getting about 10% of your views. So I would get roughly, last night when the video got 8,000, 8.2. There wasn't anything in the thumbnail that was clickbait, but people want to view United when United do badly. So this is why I think a lot of it stems from that, and it is disappointing. But the funny thing is that whilst people are disappointed, I'm actually quite happy with that point yesterday. Look, West Ham at this time of the season, because the problem for me as well is that people don't look retrospectively back, right? They only see that we've beaten City, Arsenal, Fulham, Spurs. We've won the games. They don't look back and they don't necessarily see what West Ham have done. West Ham have been playing really, really well. So it was a good point, but Stewie, I don't disagree. Scott says, I'll take top 3, but top 5 is my bet. I was in the West Ham pub last night. Great fans. I was playing with some West Ham supporters tonight. Awesome. It's only left-wing people that had a problem with Sir Jim's opinion. Look, no one's talking about Sir Jim's political views on here tonight. I'm not entering into that political debate. If you're left or right, middle, whatever your affiliation is, I don't care. We have consistently played well since Carrick has taken over. It's okay to be disappointed and want to win. Stewie, agree, mate, agree. But the problem for me is that I've seen this. I've seen people get really, really high. Carrick is going to be the best thing. Give him a 3-year deal. I've said, Wait until the end of the season. Take it every single game. Let's just enjoy the win. And I'm gonna be consistent on that. Even if Carrick was to go on and lose the next 2 games, I will still say the same thing. Take it each game as it comes, and just because we've lost some games doesn't mean that Carrick is not the guy. Equally, as I will say, I don't believe Carrick is the guy now because you don't know. You don't know. Jim is a rat. United have been, I agree. Lamans is the most impactful signings. Jim the rat and his, you've got to admit Carrick's done well as an interim manager. Would you give him the job full time? Now, James, mate, there is nothing for me to admit, James. I have said this. I think Carrick is doing a fantastic job. Carrick is doing a wonderful job, right? Whether or not, look, I will still say this. I think Carrick is very, very inexperienced. I think Carrick doesn't have the tactics, whether that is because of these players, and we know what these players are. These players will get away with it time and time again. But look, people may agree with that or not. Carrick has done a good job. Would I give him the full-time job? No. And the reason is not because I don't think he shouldn't get the job. He's played 5 games. He's been here less than 3 weeks, right? Whatever walk in life you are from, you go on a probation, right? So you start a job, they give you 3 to 6 months, sometimes a year, to prove yourself, right? Giving Carrick the job now, tell me what the benefit of that is. That's all I'm asking now. Is somebody going to come and snatch him up? No. Is Carrick going to go anywhere at all between now and August next year? No. Is Carrick going to win every single game? We don't know. I think for me, it would be an absolute ludicrous move, whether or not Carrick goes out and wins every single game from now to the end of the season 17-0, right? Wait until the end of the season and then give him the job. I just don't get this. I just don't get this obsession with giving him a job because he's done well for 5 games. It just make it make sense to me. What is the urgency here? What's going to happen? Is Carrick going to spontaneously combust because he hasn't got the job? Is Carrick going to turn into, I don't know, a beast? Like, what is it? What is the plan here? Why do we even need to think about it now? I just don't get it. I think Cunha, he doesn't know what a bet post. Hopefully, Carrick will find it. Now we fall out, but I respect your view. Why 5th? Look, the reason why I think 5th is because I still believe this team have the same characteristics as we finished 15th last season. I do. I just do. Shuey says we're playing 1 game per week. There is no way that we're finishing 5th. Why not? And again, why not? Like I'm not saying you're wrong. My opinion is only based on how we've played for 80% of this season and how we played and where we finished on the previous season. And I know what these players are. Look, I said at the start of the season, I think we'll finish somewhere between 8th and 10th. I was wrong. I will say that now. The season isn't it's still going, right? I will openly admit, and I will say that I got that one run wrong, but that was based on the previous year. I still think, and again, I'm more than happy to be wrong. I want you guys to be right. I want to win a league. I want to finish second, third, fourth. I'm just right now. I'm still not convinced that this team is still able to handle the pressure. What's going to happen if we draw the next game? Chelsea win, Liverpool win. Are we going to be able to handle the pressure? So look, where we are now, I never expected it to be. I've been wrong already this season, so it doesn't mean that I'm right. I'm just giving you my opinion based on what I've seen this season, based on what I know this team is. But look, I am more than happy to be proved wrong. I think home games are must-wins, and if we can get a good few good away results, that's a bonus. The Prem is a lot more competitive. Exactly, Barney. I do agree with you. John, as a fan, I surf most United channels. Yours is always on my list. Thanks, buddy. I do appreciate that. Scoring in the last minute in your last two games is nothing to be proud of. Lion Towers coming there strong. People call me toxic. Come on. Look, I don't care how we win, but is there anything better? Is there anything better than a 96th minute winner? No. Look, I would love to win a game 17-0, 6-0 every single week. It would be boring. Is there anything better than a last minute Harry Maguire header, Delict header, right? The epitome of this club is Fergie time, right? Lion Towel, and to piss all over what you're saying, right, is this. United won a treble based on 2 90-plus goals. So I don't care. I don't care if we score in the 108th minute. A win is a win. Is a win. And I'm very proud of that fact. I'm very, very proud. I'm very proud for all the faults of this team. And there are many. God, I'm actually defending this team. For all the faults of this team, and there are many, many faults, there is nothing better than a 96th minute winner. Solskjaer did it. Sheringham did it. Look, you can be toxic. I don't give a shit. There is nothing better. There is nothing better than winning it at the death. There is nothing better at all. Line, even the best do it exactly. Don't like a goal, which he's a pseudo Italian born. Don't mind the point if players look like they wanted to play. What's the colour of Manchester? Well, it's clearly red. United, I don't care. Barcelona, Bayern, and PSG don't score goals in last minutes. Oh, for fuck's sake. I think you find Barcelona do. What was that game against? Was it PSG, where Barcelona came back and literally scored like a goal in the 90-something minute to win it? So, John, spilt beer on my keyboard. Even his shirt says it's blue. No, it's red. Exactly. I'll go through the chat. The rat needs to sell and take the Glazers. Red. Devil Rose says, I don't know why everyone is insistent on a decision. Now let's just see how it goes and re-evaluate with the season in when it's done. Look, sensible. I heard Sheikh Jazim could be back in for United. Yeah, I've been John. I've been hearing that for a while. I did a video, John, on that a while back. It hasn't changed. Jazim has never gone away. He is determined to buy the club. Look, John, Xavi, ex-player for Barca, won the Champions League and won at Carrick. I'm not saying that Carrick is not the guy, and I agree with you. Why not Carrick? I don't disagree with you, but not after 5 games, mate. Look, not after 5 games. I am. Look, it makes no sense for me. I'm not saying don't give him the job. That's not what I'm saying here. I just don't understand why you'd want to give anybody a job or a permanent job after 5 games. What is the benefit? That's all I'm asking. I'm not saying that Carrick isn't doing a fantastic job. I am not saying that Carrick shouldn't be the coach. All I'm saying here is, what's the difference? Like, what is the difference between giving him the job now and giving him a job in August? You could twist it back at me and say, well, if that's what you're saying, then why shouldn't we just give him the job now? Well, because in my scenario, if you give Carrick the job now and you give him a 3-year deal, and Carrick pisses up the rest of the season and we finish 10th, and he clearly isn't good enough, you've got to pay him off. The same could be said if he wins the next 10 and then he's suddenly he's crap, you've got to pay him off. But I'd rather do it then than do it now. Our fixation in foreign coaches is disgusting. Carrick would be our new Pep. I don't know. At the end of the day, we've just come out of a relationship with someone we thought we were building with. We're now going on some dates with Carrick. We don't make it official. Red Devil Rose, I love that. It is true. That is so true. It's literally just like you've split up from the person that you thought was going to be the one. Well, we all know Amorim and Sir Jim were the best of friends. Split up, and Red Devil Rose is right. Are you going to go on some dates, and then it literally is like going on a 5th date with a person and then asking you to marry them? Like, you need to wait a while. Let it play out. If we want it forward, then he's asked. Carrick wants to be with us. Exactly. Shesko deserves to start. John, never go to Thailand and marry a bar girl. I don't intend to, mate. Barca, Real Madrid, not the same with us. Exactly. Why is Ratcliffe being a fool at his age, said Sully. I'm pissed that in Bumo, Cunha and Shesko. I'll let you do that. John, this is new. You are the only one who doesn't want Carrick. I disagree. DJ, I disagree. I think there are plenty of people. Look, DJ, I'm not saying I don't want him. I am saying I don't want him now. Like, I'm not saying I don't want him. I am saying I don't want him now. Look, if I had to give you my opinion, which I will because I don't hide, my opinion right here and now is Carrick is too inexperienced. I want somebody who is experienced, who has been in the Champions League, has won stuff. I don't think Carrick has got the tactics. I just don't think he has. I think it doesn't mean to say he can't get the tactics. Doesn't mean to say, that he's having to play this way because he doesn't have these players. Carrick could be the right fit. But right here and now, whether I think he has or he hasn't, it doesn't matter. Carrick should not get the job as of now. Logan says, City smashes Fulham. Again, getting blues, says Logan. The fan base is split now, and we smashed City. Liam says, evening. That was irony, by the way, says Cold Logic. Who do you want? I don't know. I don't know, mate. I don't know. I'll tell you the two. I'll tell you why I can't pick. Right? I'll tell you why. It's if United are gonna spend cash, if United are gonna spend £500 million, let's just say, and they're gonna push for the Champions League, and they're gonna spend big, I want a coach who's coached these sorts of players, right? And I'm not just talking about for 4 games. I'm talking about he's proven he's won things. He's won a Champions League. He's won a league title. That is the sort of coach that I want. However, if all we're going to do is get an Arola, a De Zerbi, a Glazer, Carrick should stay. But only on the basis that Carrick has to do something this season. In a 38 game season, and Carrick hasn't been here. He's been here for 5 games. 4 wins and a draw in the context of a whole season. Is that good enough? Is that good enough for you to give somebody a contract? That I'm not saying, but for me, there are 2 streams. If we've got a limited amount of cash, which we have, and you're going to give it to a De Zerbi, a Glazer, I don't want them managers. Give it to Carrick. If we're going to spend big, we need a seasoned, we need an experienced guy who's won it before. Liam says, I worry about getting in a new coach this summer with the disruption caused by the World Cup. I wouldn't be opposed to giving Carrick a 1-year contract for next year and then get the perm job until summer. And again, Liam, I think not a lot of people are talking about that. I don't, and again, right, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with it. I don't. I actually think that when I'm talking about an option, I think that should be brought in to it, Liam, because I think as an option, I don't disagree with that. Give him a year's contract. If there's nobody out there, and there really isn't, then I'm not opposed to that, Liam, actually. Let's be honest, if we had European football this season, we'd be fighting relegation with Spurs. It is a look. Judging our squad now, I think we'd be in a very, very similar league position. I actually think that we'd be out of the Champions League. I think Spurs' issue is Champions League. I think for Spurs, and I think as Scott says there, relegation this season could be on. Are Spurs going to focus on Champions League, or are they going to focus on the league? So let me just get through the Sir Jim stuff. So look, so again, from the top, right? Basically today, Sir Jim, Sky Sports News, talking about the whatever he's talking about. I'm not going to go into that, but basically he was comparing what he's done at United, being the enemy, the decision making is not great, but he is prepared for that. As I've already said, Sir Jim didn't even need to get fucking involved. So why he's trying to put himself over as a saviour in this club is ridiculous. So Sir Jim is a prat. Now he said that we are beginning to see where the changes are being made, and we are beginning to see the positivity. And my questions were, a coach that he went on again talking to Sky saying that any good club would give a manager 3 years. They backed him. Sir Jim said that he was going to give him 3 years. Amorim, whatever you think about him, I'm not going to go on about that. The only reason why Amorim has been sacked is because he got pissed off and spoke out against the club. So where were those 3 years? He's gone. And Ashworth, who they signed, and I agree with you. It is a vanity project. Ashworth, they chased him down, and because he didn't agree with the regime, he got sacked. So I don't really see Sir Jim there. When you've spoken about the positivity, you fucked that up. Financial side, so you're sacking people, which fine. Sacking people, left, right, and whatever you've been doing to save some money. Now let's get on to, and again, apparently we're going to be able to see this. The end of last year. I'm not getting into that. The end of last year, this club lost £34 million. In the end of Q1, we've additionally lost another 13. Now, we are predicted, because of how bad we did this season, because no FA Cup games, European games on, we are predicted to lose, I think it's 70 to 90 million pounds extra. So already we are talking somewhere between 130 to 140 million pounds additional loss together. Our shirt sponsor sleeve deal is gone, so we need somebody to sponsor that. We also need a sponsor for the training kit as well, by the way. So I think the combined value of that is 24 million. Also, as well, the shirt sponsor deal, we are going to lose another 10 million pounds per year. So every single year from now, we're going to lose 10 million. So if we get into the Champions League this season, we will lose it for this year, but not for the next. So for these financial changes, let's be clear, let's sum this up. End of last year, we lost 34 million. We're currently in Q1, we've lost 13. So that's roughly in and about 47 to 50 million pounds loss. We are predicted to lose between, I think it's even 70 to 90. Let's go on the conservative and let's say 75, right? So that's 125 million. We could potentially go into the season with no training kit sponsor, shirt sleeve sponsor. So that's 149 there, right? We're going to lose another 10 million. So potentially we could lose before the season even begins between conservatively 138 to 170 million pounds before we've even started the season. This is additionally. And this is and look, so when he's talking about being a saviour of this club, when you go back and you look at the financials, people are not pushing this. They're not looking at the financials, the Amorim stuff, irrespective of whether you thought he was good, bad, shit. He got sacked. And Ashworth, people forget about him. Financially, we are absolutely fucked. Like, if we don't get Champions League this season, we are absolutely screwed. Absolutely crap. And look, the reason why Sir Jim has come out and he is talking about this is because he doesn't have a clue. He I don't think he watches these. Look, he just doesn't have a clue. And lucky, you're so right. And one of the things that's really pissed me off this evening, right? It just really bugs the shit out of me. Is you've still got people talking about how we're going to spend all this money in the summer, or we're going to spend 300, right, on players. Do you know the sad fact is we probably will, but half of it will go on to paying off the debt, and half of it will go on to playing on players. Like whether or not we've got a credit facility or not, right? 150, 130 million pound loss is still a loss. You can't make it disappear. Well, you can do, but you can't make that disappear. It is a loss. It has to go to a place. So people are right. We probably will spend 300 million, but half of that money is going to go off to paying this additional debt, and half of it will go on to place. And we've all been spun this shit tonight that, or we've all been spun this stuff that Casemiro, we're going to save those wages. We will, right? That's 300k a week. Let's call it 1.2 a month. Over a year, that's what, 14 million, right? 14 million pounds per season against 1.2 billion pounds worth of debt. 14.2 million pounds versus an additional 130 million pounds. It doesn't touch the side. It doesn't touch the side. You can talk about a Sancho saving that money. Again, 40 million pounds a year, 28. Fine. No, that will go off to pay some of this debt. But let's just say we save 35 million pounds in wages. We're still 130 extra we've got to cover, plus the additional 1.2 billion pounds of debt. It's just crazy. Let's have a little look. So DJ says, John, I've heard the Glazers are going to invest in the Indian Cricket League, isn't it? I will come on to that as well. Even with the Champions League money, we will only have 140 mil to spend. Exactly, Scott. Exactly. I have a feeling that Sir Jim will not be here long. I imagine he's getting frustrated with the lack of the progression on the stadium, and these comments will not be good for prospective investments. So we fill our ground each weekend and we're in debt. Well, that is what happens when you buy a club on debt, you don't pay off the debt, and you spend your money really, really badly. The Prawn Sandwich Brigade has a bit of taste. Imagine having a top 3 biggest fan base in the world in all sports and 2 sets of billionaire owners, and still having to piss in a pot. This is how the club's getting rinsed. Exactly. The Glazers are also front runners to buy. Yes, they are. Casemiro has cost 30 mil per year when you amortize his fee, and he has no sell-on value. So it's like we've rented him for 4 years. You couldn't rent an entire skyscraper for 30 million. I love it, mate. I love it. So let's get. I think as you've raised the point, and this is that sort of show tonight. Let's talk about it. The Glazers. Look, the Glazers are made, and this is. You tell me this. So, is it not Malcolm because he's dead? I think it's Avram. Avram is looking, and this is what makes me laugh as well. Avram is looking to buy one of the Indian cricket teams for £1.6 billion, right? Now, I don't know if that's him stumping up the cash, because I can't imagine they're going to be able to buy that on debt. So Avram is willing to go and spend £1.6 billion on a cricket team, but not prepared to pay off the debt. Just answer me that. This is a question I want to ask tonight. Is why is Avram willing to part with 1.6 billion? Look, I don't know if that's all going to be in cash, but let's just imagine it is. Why is Avram? I called him Grant for some reason. Yeah, I called him Avram Grant. I mean that's the guy from. So why is the Glazer guy? Why is Avram? Why is he prepared to spend 1.6 billion on a cricket team and not prepared to pay off the debt? It baffles me. Is it true? Yes, it is true. It is true. He's looking to buy a cricket team, and I will let me get through the chat, and I've got a view on it. And you're right, paying, and that's exactly it. It is true, and that is exactly the answer that I would have given, as well. I say this all of the time. If you can buy something and you can make someone else pay the debt, or at least pay interest on that debt, you're right, Cod Logic. That would be exactly my point as well. Why pay off a debt when the only caveat, though, I would argue against that. The only argument that I would, or sorry, the only comment that I would come back on that is, if you pay off that debt, the interest payments that you would have to pay on that debt, they could take that out of the club. So if they paid off, I don't know what the loan amount is. Let's just say the loan amount is 740 million. If you pay that off, my comment would be the money that you then have to pay to service that loan, you could take that out. So as much as you would spend, you'd have to spend that money, you'd still be getting it back. But look, I think that's a point extremely well made. What are we saying here? Dean says, Arsenal fan here. Who do you dislike the most? Arsenal, City, or Liverpool? So look, Dean, this is where I'm at, right? I've got some good friends who support the Arsenal. They're really, really good guys. We have some good. We have Gunner fans on here that are fantastic. Like I across the board, the Arsenal fans that I know are really, really nice people, right? Who do I dislike the most? Arsenal Fan TV. I like the Arsenal fans, the normal fans. AFTV are ruining the fan base. And look, you can argue that AFTV are a small percentage, but because they have got the voice, I think they give you guys an image that isn't great. City, look, City, there's not really much to say on them. They've got best owners, they've got the best team, they've got the best coach. Liverpool as well. Look, Liverpool, my disliking of Liverpool is based on respect. Many fans may not agree with that, but for me, Liverpool, I dislike them the most but I respect them the most. And the reason why I do is because they're a successful club. So for me, I would say Liverpool are the ones that I dislike the most, but that dislike is based on respect. It's based on history. It's based on success. City are City. Arsenal, I like Arsenal fans. The only part of that I don't like is your YouTube channels. They are, yeah. Done that one. He wants them. Yeah, yes, I do. City channels you can fall asleep to. I love it. So, look. So yeah. Before I go, I wanted to, because we're talking about the Glazers. I would say the unforgivable thing is not selling to Yazim because he reduced his bid by the debt amount. They only care about the club if they can pillage it. Exactly. I think there is something interesting that is going to happen. I think over the next 6 months, and look, I know it's a long time away, there are a couple of indicators to me. Now, if you look at the Glazers, and look, the Glazers are billionaires, they've got money. Can you read too much into the Glazers buying an Indian cricket team? You could do. However, the regeneration is just not happening. For something that needs to be built within 4 years, and you can argue this as well, by the way, the company who were tasked to build it, because this stadium is going to be a prefab, so it's going to be partially built and then they'll bring it in. They're doing the San Siro, I think it is. So that's going to take a while to finish. But there is no update. There is the freight line that needs to be bought. There is another piece of land as well. But it looks like it's stalled. Now, when you take that into account, and look, at any point in time, at any moment, hey JB, how is it popping? I'm doing extremely well. I hope you are as well. And I agree with you. Like, buying an Indian team doesn't mean that they're gonna, not plow, that they're gonna leave the club. I do agree with that. But as we're talking about it, I just wonder what is going on here, because I would have thought any opportunity for the regeneration project to go to the next phase, and I'm even talking about phase 1, we're going to have to see something. We're going to have to see something. Now, I've always had this opinion. I think there are 2 things that are going to happen. This is going to happen. Whatever happens, the project will happen. There are 2 things that I think that will happen, and we will hear about them over the next few months. I think, and this is my view, I think that they are trying to seek investment from this Saudi consortium. We've spoken about it, and I think we could end up with a triple threat of some sort of consortium, so you'll have a consortium, Sir Jim and the Glazers, and that will be them set for the next 30 years. Or they're not going to be able to buy the land. They're not going to be able to do it. The Glazers may not have the appetite to do it. Sir Jim, look, Sir Jim is an older gentleman, right? And look, long may Sir Jim live until he's 100, like 180 years old, right? You know, but for the Glazers to make the amount of money, for the yes, and for the Glazers to make that amount of money from this club, they're going to have to wait around for 4 years, and they're not young. They're going to have to wait around for 4 years for the thing to get built. They're then going to have to sort of pay some of this cash back or do something. So if they were to sell now, they'd make what, £5 billion. If they turn that down and they wanted to make the same, it's going to take them 4 to 6, 7 years to make that. Are they prepared to wait around another 10 years? Probably, and then live off of this for the rest of their lives, potentially. Sir Jim, can Sir Jim afford to? And I'm not talking about age, I'm just talking about his, as you get older, you slow down completely. When he's 80, is he gonna have the appetite or the mental capacity to want to be involved in this club? I don't know. He's what, 72, 73. So by the time the stadium is done, he's going to be 78 or 9. So I just think it could go either way. I really, really do. But I do agree with Scott. I do think that the investment is going to be the probably the way. Coach says, Freightliner have a better site they can move to, but they won't go cheap because they know United's desperate. And Code Logic, mate, that is exactly the point that I was going to make. Spot on, buddy. Mate, you are smashing it tonight. Absolutely smashing it tonight. So one of the things to be hopeful for, the land that they own, I think they said it's worth about 50 million. Right? But they're not stupid. They know that land, because I think they're planning to build flats and houses. They're going to build 13,000 houses and flats on that land. So they're not stupid. So to them, that land is worth 500 million, 100 million. That is what they're asking for. Now, the problem is the Glazers do not want to pay that price. And this is where Sir Jim comes into it. And this will tell you everything you need to know about the Glazers. So the club is worth £2.5–3 billion, right? They want 8. So they don't want somebody to pay a fair price. They want somebody to pay an inflated price. Now, the reverse is true. They're trying to buy something at a fair price, and that company want to make them pay an inflated price. The Glazers are not having it. They're trying to force through a compulsory sell. They're trying to use Sir Jim's connections to try to force the freight line to sell at a significantly reduced price, on the basis that it's to do with the UK economy. They're trying to spin it around. So just like the Glazers have got something that's worth £3 billion, in fact, it's probably worth less because of the debt. They're trying to get a maximum price. Whereas when somebody's doing it to them, they're basically going off to tell their dad. It's like they don't want to play fairly. So this is the problem that they've got. Here and now, nobody is forcing that sell through. But if you hear in the next weeks or months about a compulsory sell order to do with the Freightliner, you know that this is going to happen. So this is what we're dealing with. We are dealing with these. We're dealing with these cretins. Just off topic, what do you do when you want to relax? Normally, mate, I go for a run. When I want to relax, normally, mate, I go for a run. When I don't go for a run, I'm always doing something, mate. I've got a what's the kindest word? I'm very, my mind is always buzzing. So I don't always relax. But when I do, I basically, to sleep, I need to be absolutely shattered to sleep. So what do I do to relax? Most of the time, I just go for a run. I go to the gym, pretty much. Hey JB, what do you think about Frank? I don't think we should add any sort of pressure on our team. We just like to get a haircut. I'm not trying to be harsh, but maybe chemo might help him. That is probably one of the funniest things I've heard. That is absolutely brilliant. That is quality. Imagine they go begging to Jassim. Hilarious. Spurs make me sick, mate. They belong in the Championship. I think our new CM depends on relegation. Wolves, Andre, Forrest Anderson, and Leeds staff. Yeah, I don't disagree. Spurs are going down to relegation town. Don't forget, Sir Jim is a prat. No, he is. Loving the kit, mate. I love this top. I love it. It's better than I thought. They asked over the odds because they don't want to sell exactly. Spurs will do Pissol. Romero is a disgrace to the armband. David says, "Yo, JB, hello, David." There's a bit of Keno about him. United is the rich kid, the complaining weasel. All right, Chazzy. If you do the math, exactly, mate. It is they're gonna make if you do mate. If you do, mate, it is that they're gonna make so much money. Dealing with the devil, I'm certain Farage has guaranteed Jim compulsory sell public money. Jim only acts purely in self-service. Do you know what? You smashed it out of the park again. I think you've smashed it out of the park again. Cold logic, I think you smashed it. I don't disagree with you, buddy. I was tonight when I was listening to it, and again, I'm not going to go into that side of it. I'm only going to talk about the part that relates to Sir Jim. Cold logic, agreed, and this is what people don't understand about these people. They are billionaires for a reason. These people only act when it self-serves the agenda or the money or the power or the status that they're trying to do. Thoughts on Shesko versus a Gyökeres? Right now, I'd say a Gyökeres, but Shesko starting to look decent. I think is equal. I do. I don't see Gyökeres as a striker who is like smashing it up. I think Gyökeres looks better. Gyökeres looks better. Gyökeres looks better because he's in the Arsenal team. Scott says that's yeah, but Scott, one thing, Scott, you've got to talk. No, so Scott, one thing you have to think about: rental, yes, but the Glazers will sell those flats. So the Glazers and INEOS and United won't keep those flats. I agree with you that the 1,200 rent is correct, but somebody will buy those flats. So I think what the true income will be is probably about 13,000 times about 250,000. Whilst the rent figure I think is correct. It won't be the Glazers that will collect. I mean, can you imagine, Scott? Can you imagine if United rented out those flats? The Glazers. Can you imagine? You'd get a knock on your door every month from the Glazers collecting the rent money. Can you fucking imagine that? Imagine United renting out those flats. The Glazers would be around your house collecting every penny. They'd be sticking their arm down the back of the sofa. They'd be asking you to call your gran. They'll be taking things out of your house. You know, imagine that. But look, no, I think the Glazers will sell the flats, and then you'd have these housing associations who will collect the rent. What's your 5k time, JB? My best 5k time is 15:55 this year. So last year my best 5k time was 15:55. This year my best 5k time is 17:50, 18 minutes. I'm not really training for a 5k this year, but yeah. So last year my 5k was 15:55. This year I'm up and around 17:50 to 18. If they built 13,000 houses and charged, yeah. Thank you, Jonathan. I was hoping you'd say me and the missus have a Thomas Frank curling up in his Asana kit. Frank tried to beat Arteta 2-0. Would you do a collaboration with Goldbridge? Yes, but he never would do it. Of course, I would do a collaboration. I would talk to most people. Would I do a collaboration with him? Of course I would do. I've got no issue. You know, I get compared to him all of the time. I'd have no issue at all. There is no animosity. Do I agree with everything the channel says? And when I say this, I don't watch the channel. The thumbnails I don't agree with. I get sent stuff. But I would pretty much have a chat with most people. Isn't it surprising how the manager merry-go-round has increased? Gyökeres looks better because of his trim. Love your streams, JB. Would you ever make videos on other football clubs? No. The reason why I wouldn't is because I don't have the time. If I had the time, I would create another channel and I would just do like different games. Because obviously I love football outside of the club. If I had the time, I would create another channel and I would just do like different things on there. Until I have the time, I can't. But yes, I would do. In fact, if I had the time, I would probably do another channel on doing other stuff. The Glazers own trailer parks in the States. Can you and do you play the guitar? No, I don't. I've always wanted Veiled to play an instrument. I don't. 15:55 for 5k is insane. Any tips? Run. No, mate. I didn't start to run until I was 37. I didn't. So I always went to the gym. So I was a gym guy. I played football for a long time. I've always been into sports. And then the COVID things happened. The gyms closed. And then I started to run when I was 37. And then I was okay at it. I did run back at school when I was younger. I was always pretty good. And then, mate, you just got to run. I know it sounds crazy, but you just got to do all different, do lots of long runs. You need lots and lots of long runs. And when I say a long run, you've got to do lots and lots of easy running. The biggest tip that I can give you is always do most of your runs at 80%. So do 80% easy runs, and then the other it's called the marathon, right? 80% easy. And when I say easy, I don't just mean like a walk. Obviously, there has to be a purpose. So do 80%, easiest runs, and then 20% really, really, really hard runs, and then do a mixture of tempo runs, hill runs. It literally is just all about getting your aerobic system better, really. I think when I was doing some stuff, I was probably chucking in about 80 mile weeks. 15, 55, that's McTominay numbers. Yes. Somebody said that to me once. So I mean, mate, it is all I'm going to say. It's not bad for an old geezer. Scott says, okay, let's say each flat is 250 to 300k per house, 13 times 2, 7k. That, yeah, exactly, mate. Mate, they are, Scott. They're going to make billions, mate. They're going to make billions of pounds, buddy. They are, mate. They are. I think a second channel of an overall league could be massive, mate. If I have the time, I would do it, buddy. I would. I just do not have the time. How's the V-Day prep with the third leg? It's good. It's good. It's good. I was a good swimmer, always into sports. City is the best. The last time I run a decent mile was when I was running from the police. But yeah, I'm going to do 100k as well this year. I do run like 100k each year, so I'm going to run a charity 100k this year as well. So I will probably put that onto the channel as well. So I'm going to do 100 run for children's cancer. So there's a children's cancer charity in Birmingham. Somebody that I know, their little girl had leukemia. She's now she's good. But yeah, I'm gonna try to raise as much cash. That's the plan. Running 1k to mate, I'll be dead. I'd be dead. CCO John 1500. I got 410. That's very good, buddy. Mate, that's awesome. I mean, and tonight I am shattered as well. But look, guys, I am going to go. Look, amazing show. You guys make these shows fantastic. The channel gets better and better every single show. Respect on the run plan, says Lucky, mate. Look, it is, the thing is, everybody is the one thing I will say is that God, I can't even talk. Everybody is obsessed with trying to run 5k, right, in a certain time. So there's a sub 20 5k, right? My biggest advice to people who want to run, right, is just run. Put on a pair of shoes, walk out the front door, go for a run. just it is people put pressure on themselves, and I know people want to achieve times, and people want to achieve stuff. They do like a marathon, a half marathon. They do all sorts of stuff. My biggest advice is go and enjoy it. Don't run for times. Just go and run, and just go and enjoy it. Being my favorite thing to do is the 100k run. I love it because there's no time. I'm out there. I'm in fields. I'm in mud. I love it. Guys says, have you ever done a free dive breathing O2 tables full? No, never have, buddy. Never have. I could have done that 10 years ago, says Scott. Legend, my friend. I've not, buddy. I've been told that my lung capacity is good. I did do a VO2 max test as well. I'm not just on the watch, but I did a VO2 max test in a lab for someone I did. So the 100k, I'd rather be on the golf course with an audio book. I promise you this, right? Listening to music and audio book, running up the side of a mountain when it's pissing down the rain, mate, it is absolutely amazing. I might be a psycho, but I love it. But look, guys, amazing show. You guys are legends. I say it every single show. It never gets old. You guys are legends. You guys support this channel. Without you guys, this channel does not exist. And look, I can only thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me the time of day. I never thought I would get as many views as I have. I never thought that we'd actually build a community, which is crazy. And it's all because you guys are amazing. So look, thank you for supporting the show each and every stream, each and every single day. And look, you guys are fantastic. So look, I will be back tomorrow at some point. Obviously, I work as well, so depending on my work schedule, tomorrow I will be back. And if anything does break, of course, I will be out there. I should send you my latest techno mix. You'd shorten your time tremendously. Send it over, buddy. I will listen to it, and I'll go for a tempo run, and I'll see how fast that I can go. So, guys, again, it never gets old. Thank you. This is your show. You have built this with me as well. So this truly is your show as much as it is mine. Tech friends. Techno friends. I'll send you a Lance Armstrong care package, mate. I bloody need it. I tell you, as you get older, everything gets harder. Well, other than some things, but mine's fine. But on that bombshell, I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Have a good rest of your evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel, and I'll see you very, very soon. Take care.